Alright, what is going on? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I seriously appreciate you tuning in today. We're back here with my 2006 Nissan 350z, and as you saw from the title of today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to drive a manual today in this Nissan 350z. So I get this question all the time, and I do all these POV videos, but I've never actually made one on how to drive a manual, specifically the Nissan 350z. So it is just like every other manual, but I thought I would get behind the wheel, kind of walk you through the steps that I take when I drive this car. Luckily, there's not too many to driving a manual. It can kind of seem intimidating at first, but I promise you, once you plug all the steps together, it kind of just happens. And driving a manual is like second nature. I don't even think about it. It just happens. And that is the point I want you guys to be at. Maybe not by the end of this video, but with just a few days of practice, it should be second nature for you as well. Man, but it is such a beautiful day out today. We're over here at Temecula Middle School. I actually went here from 6th to 8th grade, which is pretty cool. This is the bus loading area, so we're technically not supposed to be parking here right now, but you know, it's all good. We're out of here. We're out of here. So the very first thing you want to do when you get into your manual car is you want to become familiar with what you've got. It's basically an automatic, only instead you have 3 pedals down here. You've got the gas or the accelerator, you have the brake pedal, and then you have the clutch. It definitely is weird, you know, 2 legs, 3 pedals. What are you supposed to do, you know? So usually how a manual is driven is the clutch foot or your left foot will be in front of the clutch all of the time, and then your right foot will bounce between the brake and the gas. So it's really just this. Like, if you can remember this, you know, this just goes in and out. This one goes back and forth. So once you have the pedals all figured out, then you have this stick right here. So this is your manual transmission. As you can look on top, you have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then reverse is over and then back. But it's actually interesting because it's not over and back. Well, it technically is, but it's actually down and back underneath sixth. So normal sixth, push the clutch in for this. So normally you'd push this into sixth like that, but to get it into reverse, what you can do is you push it down, and that's reverse. So most people don't know that about the 350z, super specific, but it's pretty uncommon to get sixth and reverse confused because, like, obviously if you're pulling it into sixth from fifth going down the freeway or going at speed 45, 50 miles an hour, there's a lockout. You can't really push it down into reverse. I mean, you really would have to try to do that. So once you know about the shifter and once you know about the clutch and foot placement and everything, it's really just about feeling it out while you're driving it and kind of just feeling where things meet up. Like, it's all about timing in these cars, and the nice thing about a manual transmission is you'll pretty much instantly know if you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong, because the car will pretty much tell you. If you're doing it wrong, it's going to be really bouncy and like not very smooth. And if you're doing it right, it should go into gear pretty smooth and you should be on your way. So let's get it. Key in the ignition. So basically what you want to do, car is onto accessory mode. I don't know if you could hear it, but there's a fuel pump that goes off. I usually let that fuel pump go for like, it lasts like 1 second. And then what you want to do every time you start a manual transmission, you want to make sure it's in neutral. So do this. Make sure it's in neutral. Push the clutch in because the car will not start without the clutch in. Start her up. Now, as long as it's in neutral, you can let the clutch out and the car will just sit here idling, which is pretty cool. Okay, so the art of accelerating from 0, it definitely is an art. It definitely takes some skill, but I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot easier than you'd expect. A lot of people can be kind of intimidated by it, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with stalling. It can be kind of embarrassing sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with stalling. Okay, so let's accelerate from 0. This is the very first thing you're gonna end up having to do when you start to drive a manual car, and it's probably one of the more confusing things, but definitely not impossible. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna push the clutch all the way in. Once the clutch is in, you want to put the thing in first gear. As soon as I let the clutch out, it's going to start to engage whatever gear I'm in. So obviously you want to start in first because as these gears go, they get bigger, and the engine is only spinning at so much RPM right now. And obviously for 6th gear being the biggest, it's just not, it doesn't have enough power to spin that big of a gear. And that's why we couldn't really accelerate from 6th if we wanted to. So you want to start in first and then obviously move your way through the gears as you're accelerating. So clutch in, first gear. And then what you want to do is every car has like a sweet spot in the RPM range that you want to match the RPMs to. So if the clutch is in and you're in first gear and you're trying to accelerate and you're revving it to like here and you're trying to give it gas, that's way too high to rev the car. Like, you can, and it will probably start going as you let the clutch out. It's gonna slowly burn your clutch away, and it's just not very good for the transmission and everything. So my goal every time I accelerate is to be about 2,000, a little less than 2,000 RPM is where I found like the sweet spot is for when it finally grabs. So I'm letting the clutch out and the car will start to move. You can see the car's moving. I didn't give it any gas. I did not give it any gas. So because the engine is already spinning at 800 RPM, you let the clutch out slowly and it starts to grab that 800 RPM. But see, the problem with it is the engine doesn't have enough power to just keep it in first the whole time. Like the car will eventually die if you do not give it more gas. So clutch in, first gear. As you're accelerating, you want like 1500 RPM, slowly let the clutch out. And then it catches right there. So you will hear it. There's a point where the clutch and the flywheel are just completely mated together and you can let the clutch out completely. It's really hard to explain when that point is, but you can almost hear it. And there. So you can hear it and then it finally catches, and then, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but okay, so we just came up to a stop sign. We're in neutral. We're gonna push the clutch all the way down, put it in first. We're gonna roll backwards here. Do you see how we start to roll backwards? So what you can do is if there's a car sitting behind you, you can hold the e-brake, give it some gas, and then once you feel like you're going, then you can put the e-brake down and give it more gas and kind of like match the clutch that way. Okay, so clutch in, first gear, let's give it to like 1500. Even though we're rolling backwards, it will start to catch and move us forward again. So we're rolling, clutch out, it's catching, gassing it, gassing it, gassing it slowly, 2000 RPM finally, and let the clutch out. As you're accelerating, as you're giving it more gas, you're gonna be letting the clutch out at the same time. It's literally like this. It's like this, only you don't want to give it that much gas. Like maximum RPM is 2000 RPM, I would say. All right, so clutch in, first gear, gas, 1500, let the clutch out slowly, slowly, and then, okay, all the way out, there we go. And then gassing it. Clutch in, first gear, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna give it gas, just barely, let the clutch out, gas it, there, and then let the clutch out completely, there it is. Boom. All right, so if you're trying to turn somewhere and you're in gear, I usually put it into neutral and use my rolling speed to get through the turn. And then I'll put it into first again, and then I'll give it more gas and I'll accelerate just like we were from stopped. The beautiful thing, like I'm not gonna lie, the best part about all of this is once you're traveling at speed, it's easy. Like the hard part is over with, and I'll explain it right here. So you're accelerating, clutch in, shift, clutch out. You do not have to let it out as slow as you do while you're accelerating from 0. Once you're rolling, you can let the clutch out at a fairly normal speed. Here, I'll show you. All right, so we're going about 40. I'm gonna go from third to fourth. There it is. So you don't have to worry too much about letting the clutch out slowly. So as someone that's kind of driven manual for a long time, I kind of have an idea of what the engine sounds like or where it should be when I change RPM, or I mean, when I change gear. I usually shift like around 3000, just like that. And once you're rolling, like I said, it's so easy to get into the next gear. Once you're driving and you try and shift it into the next gear, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, that's no problem. Oh, and then you unlock the power of the 350Z once you can drive it. It's the best. We're gonna go down this way, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about downshifting, because it's probably one of the most fun things about 350Z. Accelerating, clutch in, shift, clutch out. Clutch in, shift, clutch out. So basically downshifting is what you do when you're shifting down. You can do the math here, like speed and RPMs correlate to each other so well. So say I'm in neutral right now, going 47 miles an hour. Like what gear do I put it in? So you put the clutch in, I would put it in like third, right? Third gear, 43 miles an hour. I'm gonna give it some gas and get the RPMs to where I feel like they would be sitting, to like 3K, and then let the clutch out, and then we're back. So you want to just decide, like if I put it in fourth gear instead of third gear, the RPMs would have been a little bit lower, because every time you shift up, the RPMs go down. So let's say someone pulls up next to me and they want to race for some reason. I'm in third right now. Third is probably not the best gear to race in. So what I would do is I would push the clutch in, rev it, because we're in third right now, going 3000 RPM. I would assume that second gear, you want to rev it to where you think it would be sitting in second, right? So 4,000 RPM. So at first, it can be easy to over rev the engine and then also under rev the engine, and you'll know when you're over revving and under revving. Okay, so I'm in fourth gear right now. I'm gonna downshift to third, and then we're gonna floor it, okay? Okay, third, acceleration. cruising down the freeway. Say you wanted to overtake someone. We're in the highest gear, 6th right now. So what I would do personally is you could shift to 5th and then 4th, but I would say 4th gear is probably gonna accelerate you faster than 5th gear. So you can shift directly to 4th, but all you have to do is just take into account for 2 gear shifts worth of RPM increase. So 6th gear being the highest RPM possible, like there's no 7. So 3,000 RPM is gonna be the lowest this car will sit at 80 miles an hour. If I shift it to 5th, it's gonna go up, probably about 4,000. And then if I shift it to 4th, it's gonna go probably to 5,000. And honestly, I would say it's probably about 1,000 RPM per gear. So let's test it. So here's 5th. Okay, we're sitting a little less than 4. It's like 3,800 or 3,900. Then we'll go 4th. All right, so it's like 4,500 RPM. I'm gonna get off right here. I'm gonna downshift, 4th. It's seriously just blipping the throttle. Like I just gas it for like half a second. It's almost like a twitch of the foot. Oh man. See, if I was talking me from initial D, I would drift this whole thing. But I won't trust myself whatsoever to do that. All right, let's get it. AC on this time. Oh, it's bumpy. All right, so let me know if you have any questions, because I tried to explain everything the best I could, but obviously there might be something I missed. So let me know and I'll do my best to explain it in the comments below. But I do hope you enjoyed today's video. Drop a thumbs up if you did. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet already. I'm always in this thing and I post every Monday and Thursday. So if you guys like these types of videos, hit the subscribe button, join the family. I would really appreciate it. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. I think downshifting is what makes this thing feel like a Lamborghini, to be honest. I just find myself downshifting up to every single red light like a Lambo.